We're building a model of the macroeconomy because we want to explain the business cycle. We want to see what influences output and employment, and we'd also like to see if changes in policy could increase our standard of living. So, in an attempt to build a model, we started with an aggregate demand curve. This is the main axis of our model. It shows the relationship between the aggregate price level, that is the price of all goods and services taken together, and real gross domestic product, the output of the economy. Now, you might think that the next thing we're going to do is slap an aggregate supply curve in here and get an equilibrium. Wouldn't that be great? But we've run into a problem. And that is, while economists are pretty much in agreement about the aggregate demand curve, how spending works, the way that the price level is related to output on the supply side is controversial. In fact, there are all kinds of different theories about the aggregate supply curve. This is where economists are most likely to disagree. We start with a basic problem with aggregate supply and prices, and that's this: why should the aggregate price level affect the behavior of producers at all? After all, what producers really care about is profits, and profits depend upon their revenues and their costs. So, if the aggregate price level is rising, then the prices of all goods and services are rising together. That is, the price of final goods and services like cars and airplanes, and raw materials like steel, and labor. Now, the price of your goods determines your revenue. If goods prices go up and sales remain constant, then revenue increases. The prices of raw materials and labor determine your costs. If the price of raw materials and labor rises, if wages go up and input prices rise, and your input quantities remain constant, then your costs are going to go up. And if revenues and costs are going up at the same rate, then your real profit isn't changed at all. And if your profit opportunities remain unchanged, then why would the firm change its behavior? Why would it increase or decrease its output? Now, in the long run, that is, after enough time has passed, an increase in the aggregate price level means that the prices of all these goods have increased together, whether it's the final goods or the inputs. But in the short run, that is, during the period of adjustment, labor prices may increase faster than raw material prices, and goods prices may increase faster than labor. That is, these prices are not going to move upward, adjusting in a constant, smooth rate. The adjustment is going to be jerky, kind of like traffic on a highway, and sometimes labor is going to pass raw materials, and sometimes goods prices are going to pull ahead of them all. It is this misalignment of prices, it is the difference in the rate of adjustment that creates opportunities for profit in the short run. That is, there is a period of time that may not persist very long, during which businesses can take advantage of the fact that goods prices are rising faster than labor or raw materials. One example would be if there are labor contracts that fix wages. And if the prices of goods go up when labor costs are fixed, then, well, there you have it, a profit opportunity, and firms are going to increase their output. Or what if raw materials prices were fixed by law or by some kind of agreement? Or what if the price of airline tickets rose relative to the price of automobile rides in the short run? People would do substitution, the way we describe in microeconomics. What I'm going to do now is use this insight that prices adjusting at different rates creates opportunity for profit. I'm going to use that insight to derive the short-run aggregate supply curve. The short-run aggregate supply curve shows the relationship between the aggregate price level and output in the economy in the short run. And the short run is going to be a period of time before all prices have reached their final adjustment. If I say that the price level goes up from, say, a level of 100 up to a level of, say, 110, if I say that the price level in the economy has increased by 10%, well, in the short run, the price of automobiles may be increasing faster, getting to that new target, than the price of labor. It takes a while for prices to adjust, and some prices adjust faster than others. Now, there are two stories I can tell you about the way in which prices adjust. And then the final story, which I will tell you later, involves labor contracts. The first story about the adjustment in prices is about confusion. Suppose you're an automobile manufacturer and you see that people are coming into your automobile dealership with more money to pay for cars. That is, they're offering to pay higher prices than before. The price of cars on your lot is being bid up. Well, in the short run, confusion is going to persist. You're not going to be sure whether there's just increased demand for automobiles or whether there's general economy-wide inflation. Maybe everybody's willing to pay more for everything because the money supply is increased or something. And the price of all things, that is automobiles, airplane rides, and labor, are rising together. In the short run, however, you're confused because you don't see the prices of these other things. And you have to act from your one observation, which is that the price of your good is going up. What you're going to do then is you're probably going to hedge your bets, imagining that there's at least a possibility that your profit opportunities have improved. And you'll respond by increasing your output from Y0 to a higher level of output, Y1. So an increase in the general price level can lead businesses to increase their output because of confusion. They're not sure whether it's increased demand for their individual product, which is a profit opportunity, or whether it's just economy-wide inflation, which is not a profit opportunity. But since they're uncertain, they respond anyway, and their response leads to an increase in real gross domestic product, and that gives us an upward sloping supply curve in the short run. The aggregate supply curve in the short run is upward sloping because of confusion. The second possibility is what we call the sticky price theory, or the sticky price explanation. The sticky price explanation says this, that when the general price level is rising, not all firms are going to be able to raise their prices immediately because it's costly to raise your prices. One cost might be the cost of printing a new menu. You want to raise your prices because demand is obviously strong. People are bringing in more cash to pay for your meals, but it's going to cost money to print new menus. So in the meantime, you leave the menu just like it is. Or in your grocery store, you may find that items are piling up on the shelves, but you don't want to go around and stamp them all right now. You want to see if this is going to persist because it's costly to adjust your prices. Or some businesses are afraid to raise their prices for fear of making their customers angry. Imagine what would happen then if the general price level is falling. That is, if the price level falls from 110 down to 100, and most businesses are quick to adjust their prices downwards, but some of them are slow because of the menu costs or because of some other cost of changing their prices. If that's the case, then these businesses that don't adjust their prices downward with the rest of the economy, they suddenly find that they're not competitive anymore. Their prices are too high, and therefore the demand for their products is going to be cut back. And as a result, they're going to reduce their output because no one wants to buy their stuff in the short run because of the high price. Now, in the long run, they'll eventually get their price down to the market, but in the short run, the cost of adjustment causes them to delay. And the cost is they sell less, and the consequence is they produce less. So I've just told you two reasons then why the short-run aggregate supply curve will slope upwards. One is because of confusion between demand for your product and general economy-wide inflation. And the second is because of the cost of adjustment, the sticky price problem. Next, we're going to look at how labor contracts can give us the same upward sloping aggregate supply curve in the short run.